All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at lesson 6.2. Now we're going to look at a specific type of polygon, a specific type of quadrilateral, and that's a parallelogram. So we're going to use the properties that we know are true about a parallelogram. So first, let's define what a parallelogram is. It's a quadrilateral with both pairs of opposite sides parallel. Often you see a parallelogram, looks like a rectangle that hasn't had its V8. It's kind of tilted, it's on a side. Because we don't have to have 90-degree angles to be a parallelogram, which is why it's not upright like a rectangle. But we do know is that opposite sides are parallel. So we're going to see that symbol for being parallel. And here we'll see two of them to denote which pairs of sides are parallel. It should be obvious because it's opposite sides that are parallel. So let's take a look at what theorem 6.2 is. Once again, we're not looking at memorizing the names of them. What we want to do is be able to recognize these theorems. So this one says if a quadrilateral, so four-sided figure, is a parallelogram, then its opposite sides are congruent. So not only do we have our parallel marks now, what we're going to have is congruency also. So what that means in symbols, in quadrilateral or in parallelogram, PQRS, PQ is congruent to SR, and QR is congruent to PS. Opposite sides are congruent and parallel. So how are we going to use that? Well, you guessed it. We're going to find side lengths. So I'm going to find the side length of parallelograms. So FGHJ is a parallelogram. I want to find JH, and I want to find FJ. Well, since opposite sides are congruent, JH is equal to, this should say FG, which is going to equal 5. And FJ is equal to GH, which equals 3. So opposite sides are parallel. That's that easy. So ladies and gentlemen, you can see you're going to do the next point. So do now. So find find AB in parallelogram ABCD, and find AD. Okay. Now we're going to take a look at what we know about the angles of a quadrilateral that's a parallelogram. So if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. So that means in parallelogram PQRS, angle P is congruent to its opposite angle. So angle P is congruent to angle R. And angle Q is congruent to its opposite angle, which is angle S. If we take a look at theorem 6.4, what theorem 6.4 says is if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, so we've got these opposite sides being parallel, then its consecutive angles are supplements, are supplementary. And so what that means is that angle X plus angle Y is equal to 180 degrees. Remember, supplementary meant that it made a straight angle. So let's go through and do our checkpoint. We want to use the words in the box to make two true statements about parallelograms. So I'm going to help you guys out. We have blank angles are blank. I want you guys to tell me what you know about opposite angles. So we're going to use opposite first from our word choice. And then I want you to tell me what you know about consecutive angles. All right? So you need to tell me which of these are congruent, opposite angles, And which of these, or consecutive angles, tell me which ones are supplementary, opposite angles, or consecutive angles. So you are going to do now. All right, let's take a look at example 2. We want to be able to find an angle measure of a parallelogram. Because we know opposite angles are equal, and we know consecutive angles are supplementary, we should be able to find any angle and all angles in a parallelogram given just one angle. And so that's what they've done here. They've taken parallelogram, PQRS, and they've given us angle P, which is 70 degrees. So what they want me to find are all of the missing angles. So what I know is that opposite angles are congruent, so that's where I'm going to start. So by my angle P, the opposite angle is angle R. So the measure of angle R is equal to the measure of angle P, which is 70 degrees. So R is 70 degrees. Let's fill that in down here. We then know consecutive angles are supplements. So that means Q and P add up to 180 degrees. I substitute what I know. I know angle P is 70 degrees. So angle Q plus 70 degrees equals 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract 70. I'm going to solve for the measurement of angle Q, which is going to be 110 degrees. And because angle Q is opposite angle S, that means angle S equals angle Q, which is 110 degrees. So angle S is 110 degrees, which is how we prove what I just said. If we only have one angle, we can still find all 4 of them. All right, let's take a look. Follow-up. Estimate the angle measures in parallelogram W, X, Y, Z. What we are going to do is we will do in class, because I want to give you guys a chance to work on using the protractor. So we'll work on using the protractor. So we'll do that one in class on Monday. All right, checkpoint, find the missing angle measures. All right, so I know angle A is opposite of angle C. That's my given angle, so angle C is equal to the 60 degrees. I know that A plus D has to equal 180 degrees, so I've already got 60 of that with angle A. So I know the measure of angle D is equal to 120 because I subtract 60 from each side. Well, if angle D is 120, that means D is equal to B. So angle B is equal to 120 degrees. All right? So you are going to do this on your own, and you're going to do that now. All right, so let's take a look at the next theorem. And this is a pretty important one, and what we're going to find is that as we go through this chapter on polygons, looking at specific types of quadrilaterals, that's really what we study here in chapter 6, is we use this theorem. And what this theorem says is that if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its diagonals, and this was one of our vocab words, the diagonals bisect each other. So remember, these diagonals are what we draw in that connect non-adjacent, non-consecutive vertices. And so they are going to bisect each other, so they intersect. And if you notice, we've got 2 sets of congruent segments. All right? So what that means in symbols, in parallelogram PQRS, QM is congruent to MS, and we know that PM is congruent to MR. All right, so let's see what they want us to do with that. All right, we know that we have a parallelogram, TUVW, and they want me to find TX. So I need to highlight what I'm looking for. Realize they can ask me to find half of a diagonal, they could want me to find just this small segment up to the midpoint, like I've done so far, or they could ask me to find the whole length. So you really have to read carefully here. We know that diagonals bisect each other. Lovely. Apologize for the typo. So I know Tx is equal to xb, and I know xb equals 3, so Tx equals 3. All right, so we'll do more with that in your homework, but this is where we stop for tonight. Have a good evening.